How the heck are you, everybody? I am Fastidious. Welcome to the channel. You can call me Fasty. Holy moly, we finally got a content update in Etheria Restart. A lot of cool stuff has come in and out, but for the first time since global launch, there is a new piece of permanent farmable content, and that comes in the form of a new Grim Pursuit. And I'm going to give my completely honest, transparent first impressions on this right now. I've never seen it before outside of the patch notes. This is my first time logging in today, and it should be pretty cool. So we'll break down every shell. We'll take a peek, a very quick peek at the fight. And yeah, should be pretty short and sweet. Should be pretty fun. Carrion Crows Khloros. So this is a boss that is kind of like an alternative version of Khloros, who's another character in the game, kind of similar, I guess, in concept to the Shadow Flame Hou-Yen. Hou-Yen's obviously a character in the game, and this is some weird mech version of her. This is the interesting mech, android, whatever version of Khloros. And with this new piece of content also comes 4 new shells. So we have 2 new mythic shells, the Sword 7 and the, oh boy, Ouroboros. It's kind of like Aurora Borealis vibes. Ouroboros, okay. Looking rainbowy, I guess. Then we've got in Hell, they add another one. We've got the Tiger Yin. And we also get the 4th one, Reaper Steps. And of course, you have the same shells available for you in Inferno, as well as our little training data guy, the Slumba. I've got to talk about one thing before we look at all these shells for the very first time, and that is the first thing I noticed upon login after the update. A lot of freebies, and we'll definitely take that. If you go to your email in-game, you will see we got 3 different forms of maintenance compensation. We have the main one, which they announced, and one that is very generous, a free 10 pull of non-LD summons, 10 Anima prototype. I can toss that on my pile. This should be very nice for the Wishbinder event, which likely is coming quite soon. So hopefully you guys have at least 100 Anima prototypes or some Hydra Crystals to use, or frankly, it's going to be live for a week. You're somewhere in the neighborhood and you get there. This is all assuming it's the same reward path, but I anticipate it will be. And then it looks like they made some mistakes. There were some abnormal issues with the Carrion Crows Khloros, as well as some other things. Little adjustments to Plume, who is going live incredibly soon in the game. I will definitely be pulling for her, and I will make a Should You Summon video on her very soon. We got 100 Hydra Crystal for that, and then looks like there was some other kind of issue, and it looks like there was some other kind of issue in the Grim Pursuit, the new one, Carrion Crows Khloros, some abnormal shell drops. I believe I saw on Discord that they were not having the pity for mythic shell drops, so it looks like they fixed that now, and that's 200 more Hydra Crystal. So all in all, we got a 10 pull and 300 Hydra Crystal. All right, enough of all that. Very fun, very good. Let's content this up. We have got here Carrion Crows Khloros. So I'm looking here on the Inferno difficulty. I want to take a peek at the skills. Then I want to look at all the shells. Then I think at the very end, we'll hop into the battle just to check out the animations. But if you want a full showcase, a full guide on how to beat this guy, that's something I'll prepare over the next couple days. And that is something where we'll really properly showcase the gameplay. So just the qualifiers. When you're at the Inferno difficulty, Khloros and Dreadcrow, I presume he summons Dreadcrow, or these are his little minions. They are immune to all CC, all control effects, a little typo there, or a little lack of a space. They're immune to turn meter reduction and damage over time. So a lot of the things we like to use in these battles are off the table. Additionally, he is odd affinity. He is a blue unit, a blue boss, which means he will deal 200% increased damage to Reason Red Affinity Animus. So to our red allies, our red affinity Reason allies, he is dealing 200% damage, double damage. Let's see, does this change much with Nightmare and Hell? I think I don't want to dive too deep into this. I'm gonna say he looks badass as hell. The design in this game is always something I've appreciated, so I'm assuming he's gonna absolutely wreck us. Let's check out these skills now, starting off with this first move, Scythe. Deals 750% defense damage, so it's scaling off of his own defense, which leads us to assume he's going to be pretty dang tanky, and this will be single target damage, and additionally he will apply a 1-turn decrease speed debuff. So right out of the gate, that's a tricky debuff. It makes us think we're probably going to want to bring some immunity or maybe a couple units in bulwark sets, but very likely we're thinking someone like Catchy the Guard, we're thinking someone like Nymphoniel, we're thinking someone like Ling Luo, of course. These could all be really helpful units, right? This is where my head's going, at least. We're going to want some block debuffs. We're going to want some immunity. The second skill here, Shadow Rift. It's a triple hitter. He is dealing 3 hits of 250%, again, defense-based damage, this time AoE. The final hit applies Petrify for 1 turn. Then he deals 600% defense damage to a random single target and applies speed down once again, this time for 2 turns. So what is Petrify? I believe this is a new crowd control buff. I could be mistaken, but I do not recognize this crowd control debuff at all. This looks like it's basically a stun. However, the cooldown will not be moved down at the end of a unit's turn. So whatever your cooldowns are, when you're petrified, you're going to basically be locked out of that turn. You will be crowd controlled, and your cooldowns will remain stagnant. You're not going to have them go down a step. So this is pretty nasty, and once again, he's putting out decreased speed. I really think you need immunity for this fight. If we go to the third skill now, Phantom Chase, he's going to deal 300% defense damage to the enemy with the highest attack, so this isn't random. I will say this is, and it seems like this is, and those instances of randomness are part of the reason this game can be utterly infuriating and really piss off the player base. But this time, you know who it's going at. It's the enemy with the highest attack, so it's your ally with the highest attack, and he will apply Soulbinder to himself for 2 turns and increase his own turn meter by 50%. That is pretty nasty. What is Soulbinder? This will detonate when removed upon expiration. So after 2 turns, it will detonate, and it deals 2,000% defense as true damage to all enemies. So true damage meaning it's scaling off of his own defense, and it is fully ignoring all of our defense. Furthermore, he will remove 1 stack of this effect after each enemy's attacks. So I don't know how much he's going to start out with. It seems here he only puts on 1 stack of it, 1 Soulbinder, but it seems you're going to want to have your allied Anima attacking a ton to manage this effect and get it down a lot, because that's a ton of damage potentially. Finally, a little passive here. He has immunity. At the start of the battle, he grants himself 3-turn immunity. He cannot be inflicted with debuffs, cool down increase, or turn meter decrease. However, he could never be inflicted with turn meter decrease, so it's really just the cooldown increase and the debuffs, but very clutch. It does not say this is undispellable, so we can go in with a Holden, a Heinrich, a Viper, and strip this thing off, and that will be pretty dang important. Maybe put up a block as well to block future buffing. So I went a little long there on the skills, but I do think it gives us a good sense of the fight. He is defense-based. He's going to be tanky. He's going to deal a lot of damage. He is defense-based true damage. What we're going to want to do is put decreased defense on him, and ideally, we're going to want to strip off his buffs, strip off his immunity, and put on some kind of block. I'm assuming that's the core way to deal with him in this fight. Additionally, we're going to want to put immunity on ourselves so he can't bother us and throw off his speed tune. Obviously, we cannot see what his assistants do until we're in the battle, so we'll check that at the end of this video. But for now, the best part, I've never seen these before, my first impressions of these shells. Let me know in the comment section below if you agree with my assessments I'm about to make of these shells, and if you have a favorite shell already, if you've got one you're going to be hunting for. So let's start here with Reaper Steps. Whenever this unit resists any debuff effect, gains 16% turn meter. Can only trigger 1 time per turn. Can also trigger when the Animus is unable to act. You can see the matrix available, very supporty, debuffy kind of things, maybe good for healers as well, but nothing here pointing towards a DPS. So you're thinking maybe your debuffers, maybe your buffers, maybe your healers will want to be built-in resist now, so you can take advantage of this. A very key thing, it can only trigger 1 time per turn, but that's going to be a turn by any enemy or ally. There's no cooldown on this, so this is going to be very nice. This has a lot of potential. However, resist is kind of insanely funky in this game. Resisting is just way too inconsistent in this game, especially in PvP. So to me, I question the usability of this, but maybe that's something they have addressed behind the scenes or they're planning to. I just went through the patch notes. I didn't see any reference to, you know, recalibrating the way resist works within the game. This has been a long issue, again, especially in PvP for a long time. All in all, it's an interesting set, but until resist can scale the way accuracy scales, until effect resistance scales the way effect accuracy does, this is going to be a big issue. If there's something I'm missing here, let me know, but I see this as potentially problematic, though also potentially OP in the future if they address some of these issues. Next up, we have Sword V. When this Animus takes action, if this unit attacks controlled enemies within 2 turns, deals 40% more damage. So this is on a 3-turn cooldown. When you go to act, if anyone has been controlled within the past 2 turns, you're dealing 40% damage. This is clearly a DPS shell. You can see that from the matrix available. Seems like it's potentially really good. 40% more damage is pretty wild. There's no other way to say it. That's some wild scaling. So if you've got some really good crowd control comps, this could be very, very, very nice. I wonder if this works with dots. Just off the top of my head, that came in. But if you're thinking of content like Shadowflame Hoyan, like if you have Obel putting out some crowd control, do the dots then deal more damage? Obviously, you can't crowd control the boss, but I don't know. It also could be exceptionally interesting in PvP. That's going to be the main thing. I feel like this is further encouraging us to use the CC comps, which have been kind of problematic as well. But this seems like a high potential shell. This could be really potent. Now we got 2 more here. We've got Ouroboros. Ouroboros. When this enemy takes action, if self HP percentage is higher than 70%, so if this Animus's HP is over 70%, it will increase the damage dealt by the host by 5% and speed by 5. It stacks up to 6 times. So this is written in an incredibly strange way. But basically, as I'm reading it, when the Animus who's wearing the Ouroboros shell takes an action, if their HP is over 70%, they gain 1 stack of increased damage dealt by 5% and 1 stack of increased speed by 5. This is very nice for long battles. This could be a really good counter to these long, dragged-out, stally meta comps in PvP, and it could be good in some longer fights, regardless, especially if you don't have speed farms down for PvE content. This seems like it has very good potential. If we look at the sets here, there are no attack-based DPS sets besides maybe Keen Eye, but a lot of interesting stuff when it comes to potential bruiser DPS, right? If we look at something like the Unbreakable or the Bramble or certainly the Bloodbath, there is potential here. Maybe Bulwark as well, obviously, for someone like a Tiamat. There's some interesting stuff here, without a doubt. This is a cool shell. This one has piqued my interest the most by what I would describe as a lot. This could be a proper solution to really, really long stalled out comps in PvP specifically. Finally, this must be a DPS one, and you can see it. Striker Tiger Yin. This guy just looks like some kind of offensive dude, some kind of martial artist. The Tiger Yin. When this Animus takes action, selects the enemy with the lowest HP percentage, prioritizing bosses, and deals 160% damage to the target, increasing their first hit of damage taken in this turn by 40%. Now that's interesting. So it's dealing damage and it's increasing the first instance of damage within a singular turn by 40%. So this has incredibly high potential for single target units that don't do tons and tons of hits or that have a very, very big first hit. So I guess off the top of my head, the first one I would think of is like Lilium with her S3 for PvE content. This could work incredibly well. This seems pretty spicy. This seems like a good boss killer shell. These last 2 have me the most interested. Ouroboros for a lot of things, but particularly PvP. And then this seems like a boss killing shell. Tiger Yin seems exceptionally good. The final thing is just going to come down to how hard is this content. The best way to get a quick look, though this has only been out a few hours, is to check the strategy book over here. And you can see it's kind of the usual suspects, though we do get a Rahu on a very popular team. Very long run, but hey, it's working for nearly 6% of players. We have our classic speedy stuff that really is not too interesting to me with Yeli and Lilium. What else is new? Looks like I was pretty dang right, not that it was hard to be right about this, that a lot of these comps want to decrease defense, though not all of them, and certainly you want some kind of strip. I am not seeing so much immunity, though Nymphoniel, actually in the first one, Nymphoniel's popping her head up. Nymphoniel is a goddess, and anyone that doubted her is absolutely crazy. Let's go by clear time and just see what random things people are up to, who people are DPSing with. And it is Lilium, 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 Lilium. Lilium with the skin. Lilium, 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 Yeli, Lilium, Lilium, Yeli. Lilium. Cool game. I do still really like the game, but my God, are Yeli and Lilium now completely dominating. It will be interesting to see who can shine here. Off the top of my head, it is kind of far out, but could Hoyan work here? She's the right affinity, and she has a ton of single target DPS. It's an interesting fight. We're going to have to see. Let's hop in and let's just take the quickest peek of all time just to look at the animations and get our first look at his little assistants over here. I was just running some Doki Doki Inferno in the background, so I know these units are geared. It seems like the right affinity. Let's just try it out. Let's actually pause and take a peek. No, they don't let me do that. Let's continue and take a peek. What do these folks do? This guy's going to deal damage and places increased speed on the boss, and this guy is going to deal AoE damage and reduce turn meter. So interesting stuff going on there. I'm very curious if we will blindly first try clear this. Obviously, it's only Nightmare, so it shouldn't be too hard, but boy, you never know, right? Let's see how hard we can hit. This is obviously a suboptimal team with no stripper, especially for these first 3 turns. So Khloros is actually kind of useless here, but should be some pretty interesting content for us to all tackle. I'm excited to do it. I'll probably stream this tomorrow if you guys want to check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/fastidious_GG. But it's obviously going to take a little bit of thinking. I think I already did a lot of the thinking as we broke down his skills. We're just plugging and playing this because these guys are the ones that are geared. Can we ham fist our way through it? It really doesn't matter, but it would be a cool, fun way to end the video. Nell is super OP, so she might help. That petrification is kind of crazy. Not getting the cooldown reduction at the end of your turn, it's pretty tricky. And there you go. That was the big explosion. That was the true damage off of his defense. So you will have to be thoughtful about this content. You're going to need some kind of buff stripping. You're going to need almost certainly some kind of block debuffs on your end. You're going to want to put a decreased defense on him, very likely, so you deal more damage. And without a doubt, so he deals less. It should be an interesting fight. All in all, this is the kind of stuff I like. When a new game is out and it's growing, we need new permanent farmable content. Obviously, PvP is the focus of this game, but we need fresh stuff to be doing and to be grinding out. And this looks like it's going to be something. So I'll probably stream it tomorrow on Larry's account, which I believe we're going to start calling the Lasty account, Larry and Fasty. That should be pretty cool. And there you have it. Thank you so much. If you're new here and you're not yet playing Etheria and you somehow made it to the end of this video, download Etheria right now. My link is in the description and the top pinned comment. And also, if you're new here, make sure you are subscribed. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. That'd be pretty awesome. Share with your mother, guys. I've been Fasty. I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.